Well, greetings, friends, and welcome to the Gospel Underground Podcast. This is episode 52, Girl Power. We are broadcasting live, live for us from the Power of Change Worldwide headquarters here in Blacksburg, Virginia. Well, I have some special guests here today in studio. One of them is hilariously laughing and almost giggling because of my intro. I guess she's never heard it in headphones before. That's my daughter, Kayla Joy. You want to say hello, giggler?
Hi.
I have my two teenage daughters here with me today. Kylene Jordan, who is 15, going on 16. And that's correct, right? You make me look like I don't know her age. Come on, I was there when y'all was born. And then Kayla Joy Monahan, who's 17. They'll introduce themselves to you in a moment. Well, that's one of the reasons why we're called Girl Power today. But a little bit more is that about a little over a week ago now, Kayla and I returned from 10 days in Guatemala in a town called Xela. What's the other name that the Guatemalans don't use? Quetzaltenango? Is that how you say it?
Quetzaltenango, I believe.
Quetzaltenango.
But that's the region. Xela is a city in the region.
Got it. Well, I was on a trip, real talk for a second, with 21 females, and there was a dude on the trip, one dude, and that was me. So socially, a different experience for me to be in such a estrogen-filled kind of community. I was kind of like the team dad, I suppose. I helped out with the coaching clinic, but also kind of the team muscle, watching out for the girls when they were kind of blissfully unaware of people looking at them and catcalling them, and I was ready to kill some folk. But it was great. It was a very safe city. We had a great time. Kayla, you want to summarize or introduce yourself first? Tell us who you are, a little about, for our listeners, for the undergrounders out there. And then, summarize our trip in the way that I know you will be up to the task.
So I'm Kayla. I'm 17 years old. I go to Blacksburg High School, and I'm a rising senior there. So looking forward to the whole
college application process.
Yeah, which I will admit I'm a bit of a nerd and have already written half my essays. But I love playing soccer, just like most of my family, and I've loved to write, and I've been working on a book since 6th grade that maybe will get published when I'm 62. So that's a little bit about me. I had the great opportunity to go on this trip. It was with a joint effort of Canadians and Americans from all parts of both of those countries. So French-speaking, non-French-speaking.
And I would say they know our geography and states much better than we know their provinces. I was a little ashamed of myself that I didn't know where all these places were in Canada.
I wasn't ashamed. I was just blissfully unaware because I had no idea. They're like, yeah, I'm in this part, and this part, and this part. And I was like, I had no idea you even had
is it
that.
Cold there? Is that the cold part?
Yeah, pretty much. But so it was a range of ages, all high school girls, with a bunch of leaders in their 20s and early 30s. And we got to go with a lady who's actually moving there in August to be there full-time because she lived there before to work to help English-speaking children in schools there. But we got to go to help run soccer camps for girls of ages 15 to about 25, I would say. And then we got to go to a school the last day. Where we got to just run camps for a bunch of little kids. And so in that area, and just in general, that part of the world, female soccer is, let's just say it's not very encouraged. So males are always given the first opportunity to play and usually the only opportunity to play, particularly in an organized fashion. And so we were really able to go and kind of like my dad mentioned earlier, they were running coaching clinics to help really teach coaches how to coach females, encourage them that girls actually can play sports and should play sports and that there are multiple benefits to girls playing sports. And at the same time, we got to interact with these girls. We actually got to coach some of it, which was an amazing experience, getting to run drills with translators, half translating for ourselves. We had no idea what we were saying half the time, which they thought was delightful. And really getting to not just teach them, but learn from these girls, just how privileged we are and just how much you really can love a sport and how much joy the game that a lot of us have taken for granted since we were little can really mean to a person. And so it was just an amazing experience to see all these faces light up every day as we got more sunburnt daily, and just enjoying our time with them. So, I mean, a prime example of their confidence growing was the first day when they got there. They were all late. They were in a huddle, like backs towards us, like totally talking to each other.
A little nervous.
Terrified of us. And then our girls too were nervous. We didn't really know what to expect. They're like our age, but at a very different level physically. We didn't know athletically where they were. We didn't know if any of them spoke English, which most of them did not. And it was just nerve-wracking for everyone. But by the last day, the girls went on their own initiative, got soccer balls, we're shooting, we're laughing, we're playing. And we got to go jump in with them. And then before we did our organized tag and then warm up and stuff. And it was just really neat to see how soccer had just brought them so much joy, but also how much confidence just as females in that world that we were able to just give them, but also learn from them and take that for ourselves.
Yeah, and our team internally, some of the older women with the organization were with Athletes in Action, which my wife and Casey and I used to be on staff with that organization. They were giving input spiritually, biblically into the life of the girls. And then our girls also had the opportunity to share testimonies in the gospel with the campers and the kids, which was really fun. Fun for me to see you kind of speak in front of people after we played a semi-professional team, which is kind of a good level. Our high school team, they beat us, but high school girls playing their professional level was probably the right kind of matchup. But really proud of you, watching you share with the kids, and even within our team share the gospel was really encouraging. So one of the things that I experienced like never before is riding on a bus with 20 women screaming songs from artists that I listen to often, like Selena Gomez. I learned a new song called Who Says, Who Says, Who Says, or something, man. It was like right in my ear, really loud. And one of the things I noticed was the differences between girls and boys. And in fact, so much though that those in the world who might say there are no differences between boys and girls, I now think they are an insane person. And I mean that because it was so shockingly different, specifically sports culture as well. I really enjoyed watching female sports culture because it was refreshing for a dude. A girls' sports culture has lots of hugs, lots of support for teammates, like really supportive of each other, helping each other, believing for each other, helping each other kind of have confidence. Nap time was different. We watched the Women's World Cup final, and the girls were all sleeping on and off during the
floor was like a carpet of females. Yes. He came in and he was like, "Tell me when the goals happen," and walked out because it was just girls overlapping with girls coaches, everything
laying on each other. It's like there was no "get off of me" stuff that you probably heard from guys. This kind of communal lounging, it was just crazy. And so one of the things I really enjoyed was seeing a different perspective on sport and how it really shapes community. And I really noticed that amongst our team of ladies. I did have a desire. One of the mornings I was asked to share a devotional, and I just prayed, "Lord, what do you want me to share with girls?" And I thought what I'd want to share with my own daughters if I had one shot, so to speak. I've had a lot of opportunity to share things with these two I'm looking at right now over the years. But so I just shared a simple devotional that told the girls that they're valued by God, they're loved and accepted by God, and then they're unleashed or set free to be all that God wants them to be because of the Son sets you free, Jesus, right? You're free indeed. And so I was thinking a lot about raising daughters. Now, these two with me today in studio are somewhat raised. They're young women now. They're not two anymore. And we're going to get emotional saying that in each other's presence. But I wanted to have them here today because I wanted to interview them about being fathered. Now, you guys know out there in the woods and the borderlands between church and culture, we talk a lot about the formative aspects of people and other people's lives. And certainly one of the episodes you can look back on the Gospel Underground was called Dad Up, which was calling men to be fathers. And so specifically today we're going to talk about fathering daughters. And so Girls, what I'm going to do is share just a few principles that I believe in, that I've tried to implement in raising girls. And then I'm going to just interview you guys and let you talk about your experience. Now, it's a little vulnerable. We were joking before we started of how, we'll probably have conflict afterwards and we'll cry and I'll feel good and bad about my fathering. But I've told them they can say whatever they want. There's no filters today. We're just going to open up our lives, so to speak, about father-daughter relationships, which I have found one of the best gifts in my life. In fact, every guy jokes, particularly wrestling coaches, how they're going to have all girls because, they would, torture their sons in wrestling practice or something. But, the two girls for us came first, then the little dude came last. And I was like, man, I'm not going to know how to father a boy because I fell in love with these little girls coming up, and now they're here with me today. But anyway, here's a few principles, guys. If you're fathering, and I want to say, get a head start on this because I think it's very important that you start as young as possible fathering girls, because there are going to be times in life later where they won't talk to you if they haven't talked to you since they're 2. So here are my quick principles, and we'll get to the actual good stuff here with the interview. But my principles were the importance for raising daughters. The first one was presence. Now, this is important for boys or girls, but I think young girls are very relational, and so they want you to be with them. I remember getting on the floor with my little girls because they want to tell me that the washcloths they're folding were mommy's and daddy's, and I needed to learn where they're from. And Kayla had a family in Chicago when she was little. I don't know where that came from, but she did. Almost made me believe in reincarnation, but then again, I remember that's false doctrine. But anyway, getting on the floor with the kids and talking to them and listening to them. That second principle, presence, you got to be there, listening. I've found, and I think there are studies that have found that ladies have a lot of words. Even the less talkative ones still have a lot of words, and they will give them to you as a dad. Some dads check out. Some guys just get up and leave the room or turn on Sports Center. But I've found that listening to those words builds relationship and trust, really. And by listening, I mean a third principle. I mean attention. Look at people's faces. Don't just look at your phone. Turn off the TV. These kinds of attention. I found over the years giving attention to my girls to be a wonderful relationship builder. And I also realized and tell them this, that there's going to be other people trying to give them attention in life. So I want to be there first. Fourth, praise, affirmation. I think as girls grow and get older, there can be an uncertainty that can come into their hearts. And they can travel with all of us, of course. But I made sure as a father to tell my girls when they did well, things that I saw in their character, in many ways, whether that's Christmas letters. You can listen to episode 10 of the Gospel Underground, I think, on Christmas letters, trying to praise these young women for who they are and who God made them to be. So presence, listen, attention, praise. The fifth principle I want to give you is reaffirming presence. In other words, there will be things that stress a relationship with one another over time. Maybe you fight. I've never fought with either one of these girls. I'm just kidding, we have. Or a misunderstanding or feelings getting hurt. And I've found in those moments to not pull away, even though that's my tendency in my personality is to take my ball and go sulk. I found that reaffirming my presence to them and them to me has continued kind of relationship over time. So those are the principles you get for free. This is not a published book or anything, but that's some of the things I've tried to do with parenting daughters. So now let's get to the good stuff. Kylene, how about you give us a little introduction of yourself? We heard Kayla likes to write books and play soccer. Tell us a little bit about you, age, name, rank, serial number. Why don't you go for it?
Okay. My name's Kylene. I'm a rising sophomore, and I also go to Blacksburg High School. I love soccer very much, and I guess fun fact, I also really enjoy ice skating. I don't do it very often, but I really enjoy it when I get the chance.
And what were you doing yesterday in your free time in the kitchen?
Math. Yeah, I really like math and school a bit, so a little bit of a nerd here, but I really do enjoy figuring out problems and math and stuff.
Yeah. I love it. Summertime, by the way, in the America. So if you're listening from Canada or Australia, summertime, their kids are not in school. So she's, as a leisure activity, was doing like trigonometry, I think, yesterday.
Yeah.
which was awesome. So, okay. Now, you guys, you pass the mic back and forth. You can take these as they come, but I do want both of you to kind of engage all these questions. First one is, when you think of what you need from dad, right? Okay, what just comes to mind? What do I need from dad or a dad? What comes to your mind, just kind of stream of consciousness?
I mean, I think most importantly for me is just someone who I can talk to about deep things or what I'm thinking about or little things that I just encounter day to day. I just really like having somebody to talk to. And so I know I just had a trip with Dad to Memphis, Tennessee, to visit his mom, my grandma. We had 10 hours in the car there and back, which we had some really good conversations, and I really enjoyed that.
Introduced me to some new music. Forget the artist, but it was awesome.
Alec Benjamin, I think.
Alec Benjamin. Maybe we'll throw us. No, we'd have to ask him for copyright permission to throw some of his songs on our podcast, or we could just be like these other podcasts. Just steal music. You shouldn't steal music. Yeah, it was great. Listening to music, and then we also were talking. Kylene's been engaging with some friends who don't believe the same things, and so we've been having some really good intellectual conversations as well. So I really enjoyed that too, Kai. What about you, Kayla? What comes to mind? What do you need from Dad?
I mean, as I'm sitting here thinking, listening to Kai, I was jokingly thinking, well, gas money doesn't hurt on the occasion. But no, I think over the years, what I need from Dad has definitely changed.
Like from when you were little,
yeah,
5-year-old to, almost going to college. Yeah.
But I think consistently something that has stayed the same is I need someone, kind of like I said a little bit, to ask questions of, whether that is something as simple as, what's for dinner, or something a little bit deeper. How do I handle this situation with my friends? Because I don't know what to do anymore because this is getting really out of control. And I think when I was younger, because I'll never forget this story, when I don't remember it, but he's told it 1,000 times. When I was really little, I was obsessed with light switches. And I was like,
you were obsessed with everything.
Okay, yeah. I was really curious. That hasn't really changed. But I was playing the light switch, trying to turn it on and off. And, when you find the middle where it's like half on, half off. And I was like asking, why does it do that? So my dad, being the physics nerd he is, literally explained exactly how a light switch worked. Not just like turning a switch on and off, but like how a light switch worked. And my 3-year-old self had no idea what an electron even was, or electricity or a charge or anything, literally anything. But he explained all of it to us, and he's always taken that approach with just about everything in life. If we have a question, he's not going to dumb it down. He's not going to act like we are little fools and look down on us. He's truly going to answer us and be there regardless of what it is. And I'm not scared to tell my dad anything. There's no judgment. I'm trying not to make stupid decisions, but even if I do, I know that I have a place where I can come and be safe, and we can try to fix whatever happened together. And if there's nothing to do, then he's willing to cry with me, hold me, and then we move on together as a team. And so I would say just having that team aspect of the family and like having my dad there, I guess would be the biggest thing I've need that has stayed consistent and probably never will.
Yeah, and also I was just thinking just there when Kayla's talking about dumbing things down, I wanted to say, like, Dad's never really done that, especially even when, like, I was younger, like 6, 7, 8 range. Like, you say a word that I don't understand, but instead of just, like, never using that word again, just describe it in different terms, and so then now I know a new word. Or in complex explanations of things, you still give the complex explanation, but then afterwards you explain it a little bit more.
And, when your kids have good questions, you should answer them, right? And if you don't know, you go read some or figure it out. Tell them you don't know, and you go get back to them. Well, one of the things that I think every father, hello men out there, if you're a father, you know this, right? You feel inadequate. You feel intimidated. You feel like, how am I going to do this? You know that kids are going to be in therapy someday, and they're going to be like, my dad didn't love me right. So it's a little intimidating being a dad. So just in case you guys out there are wondering, it's like, wow, Reed sounds like a good dad. Well, jury's out always on that. But I was going to ask this next question so you guys can see the reality. So this one will be easy for the girls. So second question, when do I frustrate you and why? Why is this frustrating? So again, don't pull any punches. You do how you like to do this, but keep it real.
All right, I'll go first. I think so. If you haven't guessed by now, I'm the chatty one of the house, and I externally process anything that comes into my brain via my hand on a paper or via my mouth. And when I'm in the house, it's usually my mouth. And so I think times when my dad has frustrated me would be when I am just bursting with something. It might be silly. It might be serious. And usually it hurts more when it's serious. And I want to tell someone. And so for me, because my dad and I are close, I want to tell my dad, especially if we just go back from a trip and I just really want to see him and tell him everything. And all he wants to do is sit on the couch and take a nap, which he's earned. He 100% has earned that nap. But I can get really hurt when he doesn't pay attention to me or doesn't, even pretend to listen to my ramblings about even just the silliest thing. What I did with my friends last night or something. But I think that would probably be the biggest thing that causes tension between us. And when he points out my flaws, but I know I need to hear them. So, okay.
I think for me, there's two, I would say, that really frustrate me to a certain degree. One's much less. But, we talked about this the other day, but mostly if I have something on my mind and I'm really frustrated and tired and I'm like, it's because of, and then I get cut off for something and then he says something and then I try to finish my sentence and then I say a totally different thing just because I'm frustrated and then I never get my point across and then the conversation ends and I'm very frustrated.
Yeah. Kylene and I have a problem of escalating. We escalate on each other pretty quickly. Like she really is, wanting to explain why the dishes weren't done. And I just almost say, well, I don't care why it's not done. You just didn't do it. And then she gets frustrated, says something to me, and then I get hurt. Then I want to take my ball home, and we just ramp up this emotional negativity. And it bothers us both a lot. So we were talking about this in the car the other day. In a calm moment. That's a conflict resolution tip for you guys out there. In a calm moment, when you're listening to Isaac Benjamin or whatever his name is, and everyone's at peace, talk about your conflicts. But yeah, go ahead, Kai. That's a good one.
Yeah. The second one would probably be sometimes get a little bit passive-aggressive with us, I would say, which is pretty frustrating, especially when you're not really aware of it. So you try to deny the passive-aggressiveness, but it's clear to the others around.
When I'm being a martyr.
Oh, I was so tired. And I just had this long trip. Like, no one else had a long trip because everyone
did. Got ice cream, and there's no ice cream for me because I was forgotten all the time.
And this is a little thing. But my mom and I both have this thing where if you chew, do not chew near us because I can't deal with the sound of chewing.
Men, this is a comment of women talking about how you chew your food. Go continue.
Oh yes, no, it's a real thing, and he likes to chew with his teeth, and you can always hear his teeth even if his mouths are closed. But that's something I've had to grow in patience. But at the same time, he does know that it drives me nuts, and so especially if I'm already on edge, he will sometimes
treat it as entertainment.
Yeah. It will be entertaining for him, and then it takes me a little while to get over that. But it's okay. That's just something that popped into my head.
Purge me. I should be purged. Oh, yeah. So I hope you guys are out there hearing that, like not listening or cutting people off. Parents do this a lot, where you have an opinion on something, but you don't let other people at least articulate their own thoughts and opinions, and you just kind of shut it down. I think that's rough for girls and boys raising them, but I think it's particularly rough on girls because they want to talk to you. And I have talked to other fathers who have now teenage daughters, and their daughters will not talk to them about anything. And I think, one, lack of presence when they're very young, and shutting it down too much, too many. I think young girls will learn, I can't talk to this guy. He's aloof. He's distant. He's not in it with me. And then later on, when they probably do need to talk to each other, fathers and daughters, they don't talk. And then, other people are talking, other people are in the program. So not good, guys, not good. Okay, third question. And if anything else frustrating comes to mind, please share it later on. I do need to grow. Number 3, what do you sense needing from me? I was joking with Kylene before we started. It's like, with fathering, what do you like about it? She goes, well, I've only had one dad. But what do you sense needing in the future as you get older, you grow up, or which one wants to go first on that one? They're pointing at each other.
Okay. Well, I think the question means is that what do we feel like we're going to need when we're older in the future?
When you're 16, 17, 18, 19,
the word sensing
28.
threw us off, but that's okay. Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
What do you think you will need?
Yeah.
What do you anticipate?
I anticipate, no, in college, which is a season of life that I'm looking towards now and starting to really kind of hit me as a reality, of this next stage of life coming up very, very quickly, is being able to have access to my dad still, especially in academic classrooms with varying opinions, with very strong opinions, particularly coming from professors of wherever I end up, and even classmates and peers and things like that. So I think having access to my dad, and his wealth of knowledge and his background and, even sometimes just his logic to snap me out of my emotional tizzies, is something I'm definitely going to need, but also.
And gentlemen, that is a very, very dangerous thing to try to do, is snap out of an emotional tizzy using logic. It sometimes needs to be done. And men, that sometimes is our role.
Sometimes it also means, though, you just need to let me cry.
That's right.
There's both.
And if you make a mistake, duck, run, and cover. Continue.
And then come back later when she's calm.
That's
anyway.
Right. That's right. Like reaffirm presence.
Exactly. Yeah, but I also think as I kind of hit senior year and in the next couple of years that our new dynamic to our relationship is going to change in regards to needing more space and needing more freedom. So since I've had my license, my parents have been really generous, and we've really worked out as a family really well ways for me to kind of branch out more on my own and have my own life, but being
gas money.
The gas money is helpful. But I mean, it's as simple as that and as complicated as that, with different schedules and things like that, and making sure that I have time to go to do this for soccer, to do this with friends, to do this with school. But to kind of just realize that my decisions are going to be my own, and that if I want advice, I can ask for it. And I know I will ask for it, but that he's not obligated to tell me anything anymore. And that not that I don't want him to tell me things and still want to engage with him, but at the same time, just for both of us to kind of wrestle with, okay, now I'm more on my own. What does this really mean? I think you're going to be the top 2 things in the next 5 to 6 years. So, all right.
So yeah, I think for me, it's probably going to be increasing the number of deeper conversations we're probably going to be having, just because recently, like we said earlier, I've had been thinking about a lot of things recently, and we've had 2 really long conversations, and I think in the future, I'll probably call you up and talk about the contingency of the finite universe a little bit more.
Yeah, contingency and necessity, yeah.
So I think as I get older and encounter, like Kayla said, more people and more very strong-willed and voiced opinions in the world, and even though I know my own internally, sometimes expressing those verbally to other people I struggle with. So I think I'll be hitting you up for that a lot more.
Awesome. We have come to an agreement as a family too that if someday grandchildren are in the picture, that I will be called Dude Bro.
No.
Nope.
Not happening. That's
Least,
no.
This is the male gameplay in the house that my son has named me, not Grandpa Reed, but Dude Bro, and I'm all in. But the girls have yet to be persuaded.
Yeah, we'll see who has kids first.
All right. Okay. Speaking of children.
We're not rushing that. Don't worry.
That's good. That's very good. All right. My last question that I did not mention to you is that how does a dad, when you're young and even now and into the future, how does a father prepare young women for interacting with males and let's say men as well, but males, young men, there's a difference. You guys know that, knucklehead men. How does, if you could give a word out to the young dad, how and in what ways does a guy prepare you for that?
So to the young dads out there, especially if you have little girls, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, you are her hero. You are going to mean so much to her, and the way that you choose to live your life, interacting with her and interacting with your spouse, interacting with your friends at your house, your, her little playmates growing up, all of those things will make an impact on her. The way that you treat women will teach her how she believes women ought to be treated. And I don't say that lightly. I had a guy recently say to me that he wanted to help me grow and learn, and that he could teach me all these things, and that I was pessimistic about relationship. And I took a moment in my head and was like, hold on, let's think about this for a second. And I was able to respond to him because I've grown up in a house with, not perfect, but with pretty close to Prince Charming and Cinderella. And again, not perfect by any means, and no complete fairy tale, but the way my dad is...
And Mom is hardly a Cinderella. She's more with cleats on, but go ahead.
That's true. No, I mean that in the sense that I've seen how a husband and wife can truly love each other, truly serve each other. I think my dad, being very conscious of that, will even from little age up would be like, hey, girls, this is what a guy should do for you someday. This is how you should treat a guy. The way he's raised my brother has also been very intentional. Look, you listen to your sisters, you listen to your mother, you treat them with respect. You do never disrespect a woman. And things like that especially at a young age will truly make an impact. And if you have more than one kid, they will learn from each other as you parent them.
You guys have done a good job with Tommy as well, teaching him kind of, and even correcting some of my bad male behavior with him.
I mean, we do our best. But I truly believe that it's a family effort to raise girls, but that you have a very strong impact on that growth and development, especially when they're young. Talk about My Little Ponies with them, because when they're 17, 18 and they want to talk about this boy walking in the door and they truly want your honest opinion, that needs to matter more to them than any other teenage boy's opinion ever could. And affirming their self-worth,
because teenage boys are not emotionally mature enough to care for the hearts of a young woman.
I've never heard that before. But yeah, even catchphrases like that my dad has been using since I was like 12 years old will stick with me, and they'll stick with me to college as I look to find a husband someday. And I think that example that you have, and that's not to put pressure on you. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. But by being honest about those mistakes and being vulnerable and being humble enough to ask for forgiveness is also really important. And I think that just remembering that you're an example, and that the way girls are wired and the way that our self-image is wired will, not entirely, but mostly come to rest on how you treat them and how you love them and how you love the people around you. And so that's not to scare you, but that is something that's very serious and you have to take seriously.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, what's brought to my mind is in The Sound of Music, when there's the song "You're 16 going on 17," and Rolf is telling this girl like how she needs someone, and she's like, I need someone too. And what's really depicted well in that movie, I think, is how she doesn't have a father who's present with her, and she hasn't grown up with someone who she can talk to and rely on and look up to. And so a lot of times, girls who've grown up without that presence want to look to some teenage boy knucklehead, as my dad would say. And so they end up getting wound up in all of the drama and caring about people who are going to break their hearts. And that's because the presence of the father wasn't there when they were younger and through their teenage years.
Yeah, and I think when guys do come around, being a safe place, I know I don't want to make too many jokes or be silly if there are young men that are, around my girls, because, there are good ones out there, and I want to affirm that, and I don't want to embarrass my girls by excessively nicknaming the boys that are interested, which I might have done. All right. We won't get into any of that in specifics because girls are turning red. All right. Okay. Last question, and we'll wrap up our Girl Power podcast. Should a father be wrapped around the little finger of a daughter? Yes or no? Elaborate.
Definitely that's a no for me. I think it's very important, especially when I was 3 and when daughters are younger. I think that's very important to say no, to tell them no. You don't want to be completely in the thrall of your little 5-year-old because you're going to be a brat.
You create monsters.
And then you're never going to be able to really have a true say or be really get that respect from your daughter if you're just, I'm giving you whatever you want. Veruca Salt and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Lots of movie references today. But you become such a, they don't understand that you warrant respect from them because you've always just given them whatever they want. So they see you as just, you're the person who gives me stuff.
The goose that lays the golden egg.
You're a dad first and a friend second. I think that's something that's been very clear with my dad and with my mom as well, as with my parents, that I'm not trying to manipulate them. I'm not expecting to be able to manipulate them. I know that if I have a differing opinion, I can respectfully come back with that opinion. I will be heard, but that does not mean that I am allowed to do whatever I want, nor honestly what I want to, because I know that they want what's best for me. And I think, that dads should be generous and should love their children and should give them good gifts, just like our Father in heaven does for us. But that does not mean that, I mean, like Kai said, children do not run your lives. Technically, you'll run theirs, at least till they're 10, and then you'll be running that race with them, which is a little bit different, but very similar still. And so I think that there definitely needs to be, that respect needs to be put in place young. Discipline is very important. And should not be neglected. I thank God that I was disciplined as a child every day. Let's just put it that way.
My daughters have seen the results of kids running wild in this world.
We have babysat those children. We have been up till 3 a.m. with those children babysitting before. No, but I think, discipline's crucial. So I think in the sense that should dads be devoted to their daughters and be willing to love them in the midst of anything? Yes. But sometimes that love does not always look like hugs and kisses. It comes through the goods and the bads, and that's where the presence aspect, I think, of those 5 that my dad has kind of said, whether that's in conflict or whether that's in peace, needs to be there. And whatever form that can take, wherever you can be present, you need to be present.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to close with some disagreement because I think you're both nuts. I think a father should be wrapped all the way around his daughter's little finger willfully and joyfully. At least I am. But you guys never ask for things that are wrong or inappropriate, so it makes it very easy to send you money and to say yes for more time and an app on your phone and do whatever it takes to make you happy. Well, not whatever. You guys spoke to that very well. But I am proudly wrapped around your fingers. Anything you need and that you actually need, I'm all in on that. Any final words or parting shots, parting thoughts, final movie references that you might have as we close with Girl Power?
Like I said, I like to talk, so I guess I'll end a little bit. I would say that learning from other fathers around you, both good and bad, is something that's very important. It's been an honor for me to watch my dad both learn from other dads, but at the same time teach other dads. And having a little kid, 2-year-old, screaming in my house, and I'm 8 years old, and my dad telling another dad hey, you need to go deal with that, is something I will never forget. But looking back is something that makes me, proud of my dad. And so I think don't isolate yourself. Don't go into your own head about your insecurities and your inadequacies as a father, but surround yourself with godly men who are trying to father the same way as you in honor of your father. And so I think that's something not to be taken lightly. And I think that, working with your wife as well is very important to, get feedback from her and see what she thinks you're doing well and what you're not doing well with your daughters, because she knows girls probably a little better than you do. And so I think those are just some simple, more practical things. It's just being open to learn about the best way to love your kids.
All right, final word, Kylene.
Mine's not going to be quite as in-depth, but I think that when your girls get a little bit older, like Kayla and I now, or the past several years, it's really important to have good conversations about what each other are feeling and thinking about, because otherwise you might think that you know her really well, and something totally different is going on in her head, and you would never know. And maybe she's not pulling away from you, but she's just not articulating that to you, and you didn't think to ask, and so then all of a sudden something blows up in your face, and
or
you want to
3,
try
4,
to
5
that.
years go by with, what happened? And Kylene, you're getting something that's actually in the literature about the inner life of teenage girls, that if you're not asking, if you're not engaged, and time goes by, there's a whole lot happening. In fact, if we could animate it, it'd probably be pretty wild and scary, for at least for men. Any final movie references?
No, I think I'm good.
Nothing about Spider-Man or what's the guy's name? What's the actor's name?
Tom Holland. Don't even get me started.
Tom Holland. You think he's
I'll leave
cute?
that
All
to
right.
Kayla.
The Gospel Underground is a joint production of Power of Change in the Bonhoeffer House. Review us on iTunes. 5 stars only are acceptable. Send your comments, feedback, or questions which you have for Kayla Joy and Kylene Monahan to info@gospelunderground.org. We are dialogue taking place in the borderlands between the church and culture, where your daughters are being raised and rolling out in the world. We hope to see you out there. Peace.
Jeez.
Bye.
We out.